It's no secret that students today are facing some big challenges, but what if education could tap into their passions, connect them with real-world mentors, and help them find purpose beyond just grades and test scores? Joining us today is the co-founder of the Institute for Civic Leadership, or ICL, to share how his program is working to build tomorrow's leaders by meeting young people where they are. Let's welcome Kirk Spahn. Hello, Kirk. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so Kirk, what are educators and parents kind of most worried about when it comes to young students right now?
I think we're facing a really interesting time in education. There seems to be a lack of engagement, and you hear a lot about the mental health crisis going on at the moment amongst youth that aren't inspired, aren't passionate, and this disengagement can lead to, schools having a really tough time to just engage their students.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so we want to make sure that we're helping students along the way. So tell us about your organization and what you're hoping to do with it.
So the ICL Foundation has launched the ICL Academy. It's a school that's really taking students' passions and giving them a purpose. And we align with global icons and world champions who are, we call it learning from the posters on their wall. So if you're passionate about tennis or soccer, we'll utilize Novak Djokovic, to come in and actually inspire these kids, because I think that the next generation understands they want to see how can we apply what we're learning into real world situations to help us dare to dream. And as you saw in the picture, the concept of daring to dream and instilling the courage to take risks and to show leadership through action, those are ways that we can create more engagement and counter this cycle of sort of the mental health crisis of students not having real purpose.
Yeah, and your organization has included a lot of people who want to take part and help. You've worked with some of the biggest names in sports, politics, and entertainment to mentor students. How does mentorship from these champions help kids see a bigger future for themselves?
Mentorship is really key, because if students can see the results, the picture of success, where they want to be, and they can be inspired. If you're right there, if you're a skier, someone like a Bodie Miller, a Novak Djokovic, a Boris Becker, people who have climbed the heights but can then really instill their lessons and their values of what it takes to get there. Students can understand the story of Monica Seles, Dirk Nowitzki, and Steve Nash, people who have really been these icons, but they can relate to why academics is important, because I think that it's really important to be passionate. And then when you combine purpose and service leadership, what we really try to instill is that when you can apply what you're doing to a real world situation to help others, that's really the key, because all of these mentors end up talking about their super purpose, which goes beyond trophies and medals. And it's really about changing the world. And we want to empower youth by giving them examples of what these people have done and that they can do it too.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on that. You mentioned purpose. Finding purpose is something many adults struggle with, let alone young people. But how can students start discovering their passions and building a sense of purpose for themselves?
I think purpose comes from that inner drive. It starts with passion. It just starts with an interest. But a passion and a purpose are two different things, because once you find you're good at something and you want to work hard at that, it's when something doesn't become work, when it's something that you want to do. And we can actually help transform and use education, use the classroom as a place to actually enhance students' passions. And this is what traditionally has not been the case, right? You sort of have this, I'm doing, school is over here and my sports or my outside passions are here. We want to combine that, because the way education is moving is we want to be able to apply it so these kids can become social entrepreneurs, service leaders, and that really fuels that super purpose.
I love that, because it's also giving the opportunity to combine the academia and their passions and their hobbies, and knowing, hey, I can do something with both and combine them, and it can work for me moving forward. We hear a lot about today's youth being the anxious generation. How do we help them shift from stress-driven to purpose-driven?
I think it comes back to being joy driven. And I think that when there is that purpose, that drive, they can see the results. I mean, we see it, and adults look at our school and go, wait, how are these kids getting scholarships to such incredible colleges?
Yeah.
And the truth is, we just fuel and empower that passion. And the anxiousness comes from, that question of why. Why am I doing this? Like, what
Hmm.
does this do for me? And the concept of influencers. I want to be an influencer. Well, how about we teach them that, have a goal, set small goals, reach those goals. It's reinstilling that the journey is actually the most important part, and that your teachers become part of your team. They align with your parents, the coaches, to support you instead of feeling that teachers are not part of it. They really are a big team. And at ICL, we try to focus on 6 P's: is taking your passion, making it a purpose, creating the right process to follow. Who are the people that help you to ultimately be able to persevere? Because teaching perseverance and grit and resilience is what will overcome that anxious generation, because they can see the results each step of the way.
Kirk, I mean, you can hear that you found your purpose. I mean, what can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to start this organization?
Absolutely. I've been fortunate to be inspired by great coaches, and I was a product. I call myself Peter Pan because I was one of these students who had a passion for tennis. And I had to make a decision early on to have great academics or follow in that path. And I think those days are over.
Yeah.
If you have a passion, your academics can combine that. And if you can take the opportunity to learn the lessons and the roadmap from these great icons and then weave teachers, you know, using physics. I wasn't into math, but if someone had actually taken a tennis court
Right.
or a soccer field and taught angles by using what I'm doing every day after school for 5, 6 hours, I'm now engaged. And
Yes.
I now see that combination.
I love that. Well, I'm going to let our viewers know where they can go for more information, Kirk. A pleasure having you on the show. To our viewers, you can find out more by heading to the ICLFoundation.org.